Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Silo Season 2, Episode 2, Order. No book spoilers in the comments, please, and I will not be talking book spoilers as well, as I have not read the book. So we go back to Silo 18 in this episode, and things kick off really exciting because we see Mayor Bernard is watching the helmet view of Juliette when she was seeing what we saw last episode and finding the other silo and all of the dead bodies. But not only is this scary to him and all the information she's finding out, but it's scary to him, as we'll learn later on, because it is giving him this fear now of what could end up happening with his silo. It's also interesting we see the book The Order that he is following from the founders, and it has a part, an event of failed cleaning, prepare for war. And that's when, of course, the alarms go off right on cue. So everyone's going wild in the cafeteria, and there's a non-playable character who says, "She walked over the hill, that means it's safe. I want to go out too." And everyone's like, "Yeah!" But what really happens in this episode that makes things really interesting is seeing everyone's reaction to what Juliette did, and it makes everything so much more interesting in Silo 18, but it really makes you have kind of a radar on certain characters and more interest in certain characters you might have not even thought twice about from last season. Perfect example of that is Knox. See, he makes his speech that Juliette Nichols was one of our own, and Shirley quickly says, "Then why did you turn her in?" Now, he is a guy we know for sure prioritizes over anything is protecting everyone in Mechanical his own. But we'll see he is also very suspicious because throughout this episode, everything he is doing is to keep an eye on Shirley, to slow down the rebellion. He's very conservative. It may not mean he's against finding out the truth, but you could definitely have theories that he is someone connected to above. And there's even a hint in this episode when he finds his friend down below that he's talking to and asking for a second ask. We did not see. He tells him not also to make weapons, but he also mentions his father to him and that he's like his father and he's the one who got him out. So you wonder who is Knox's father. That's not just some throwaway line. I also love the end of this scene in the cafeteria when everyone's going nuts, that Martha just hoses them down and she's like back to work. So they all just obey instantly. I thought that was so silly. What a quick flip, and for that to be the reason. Now, we only see Billings for a little bit here, but Sims is pushing him to just act like things are back to normal, and Sims fabricates a statement to him on the cleaning saying that Juliette wanted to go out, was chased down by raiders, was charged for having a relic, the end. Now, Martha, will see when talking to Shirley, is convinced that Juliette is dead. That will have a different reaction later on. Martha is going to be given hope later by Shirley's actions, which we'll get to, but Shirley connects the dots about the tape, so she knows what's really happening behind the scenes. Now, when Meadows was told what happened with Juliette, she stops drinking and she says, "What now, Bernard?" She wants a clearer mind here in this kind of situation, and she's a very mysterious character like Knox is now. But we learn more about her current state of mind when Bernard goes to see her. He wants her to be behind him when he makes his speech. She was his best shadow. He also can see through Meadows and sees that she is hiding something. He's like, "What do you want? What do you want to help me?" And it's revealed that she wants the Wizard of Oz treatment. She feels like these 25 years she's had this trick and now it's been revealed. She wants to go out that way where she flies away in a hot air balloon kind of route. That's the deal she'll make with him. Meanwhile, Bernard has Walker and the supply worker who had taken the tape put into custody. Now, it's funny, we see Shirley talking about how she wants to use Walker as proof that Judicial knew about the tape being bad on the suits. But a non-playable character makes a good point to her back, saying, why would people listen to her over Judicial? But Shirley then makes a good point saying because they saw Juliette walk over the hill, it's going to change people's minds about everything and question everything. But we see Walker telling supply worker for them to do the denial route here, and supply worker's insisting just to let her take the fall. But they both know at the end of the day, they're in a lose-lose situation in that jail cell, that they're either going to die or they're going to be working in the mines and have a terrible life. But they will get out of that because once we see Bernard has a different kind of approach in his plan and his speech revealed, he actually wouldn't want anyone talking to them about anything, and any hint of something else that might have happened. It goes against what he's saying happened to everybody. So he'd rather not do the punishment to them and risk that happening. But in Mayor Bernard's speech, which was the best scene to me, and Tim Robbins kills it here per usual, he says Juliette Nichols was a fighter. We also see he has hecklers that were hired by Sims to go into this act and get him the lines he needs to say. He denies her being alive, but he says she died a hero to the silo, and he spins it as if he asked Juliette to use a new tape that IT made for the suits, and it was shown to have better protection. So he says it's the first step forward in our lifetime. It all leads to our ultimate goal of safely leaving the silo. But that obviously is not what he wants to happen. There's a control thing here with them wanting all these people in the silo to stay there for some reason. But it's really interesting that this actually is a very effective move by Meadows on most people, will say, but obviously not on where Shirley's group is, where they know the truth of the situation. It's also interesting they went with the hecklers, though, because that's super risky, because you're opening the door for 3 people now that could squeal on being told by Sims to do this, but they pay them off, so we'll see. But Shirley, down to mechanical in response to this, screams the truth of the situation. That is when a guard is about to take her away, but Knox stops him. He says, we'll get her in before curfew. So again, he's always protecting his people, but he's still shady in the sense of he controls them to this obsessive degree, and he wants Cooper to follow her, which is like, okay, what is up with Knox? Now we'll see in that storyline that Shirley is bringing up to her crew the hand signals to communicate. People have been talking about this, and that this would be a great way for them to get around everybody watching them in the silo. So I'm happy they're discussing that. But Cooper shows up when he was told to follow her, and he reveals that Knox sent him to follow her, and Cooper pledges his loyalty to Shirley because he was Juliette's shadow, and Juliette saved them all. He's like, I'm here for Juliette. And then Martha shows up and tells him to quiet down because she was following Cooper. She's like, we're going to be sent to the mines. But you see that Shirley is this aggressor here. She has an aggressive plan, but you see that Martha's kind of giving her a reality check and to be smart about every move she makes. But when they bring up the JL graffiti, it being Juliette lives, Walker sees their reaction to that, and that being there as Juliette is alive in that kind of spiritual sense in what they're doing. Her spirit is there with them and what they're believing, and all Juliette's kind of movement that she started, and they're following that. So that is maybe not Walker believing Juliette's actually alive, but that belief and hope and faith and them acting like Juliette would want them to act, moving in that direction, is what gets Walker on board here, which was great to see. Now, of course, that's going to piss off seeing that JL graffiti to Bernard. It scares him more than anything. Is there people that are going to start trying to cause a rebellion? He does not want to end up like the other silo. Also, we see some time here with Sims. He's frustrated. He's not Bernard's shadow at this point, and he thinks that he might be working with someone else, and it would be Meadows. So they're setting up some kind of conflict there with Sims and Meadows, and maybe Sims is someone who could have a redemption arc and turn on all of this. But my God, the line delivery of Common in this scene was brutal. It feels like you're watching someone in their first acting class. I'm trying to say that as nice as possible, but really, you would think in a season 2, with all the criticism he got in season 1, that maybe he would take some kind of private acting class or something to step up his game. I mean, I feel like any actor can have a comeback and get better, but it seemed worse somehow in this episode. I don't know what is going on with that, but it's very disappointing, and a lot of his scenes take me out of it. Now, Meadows is impressed with Bernard's speech, and I obviously think that she was obviously his shadow, but I think that there was something romantic there in the past, the way they're acting this out and getting close to each other. There's something there. But Meadows says to Bernard, you need to give them something to believe in. And that's when Bernard says, that's why I need you. I can't manage this crisis alone. And she mentions this because she's the only one who has been in that vault besides him. What is that vault they're talking about? I'd love to hear theories on that. No book spoilers, please. But she says it's because she is the only person he will listen to. She set the bar high as his former shadow and basically wants her to be that again. But Meadows says, I need to show you something. She says, for the first time in 25 years, I don't want to be drunk. I want to be clear-headed about this and you going forward. So the favor she asks now to stay with him and help him is, get me some of the good tape and put aside for me till the crisis is over. And that's interesting to think about, that that tape now is going to be so valuable and people fighting over that eventually. She says she wants her freedom. You couldn't get me the Wizard's hot air balloon, so I want what Juliette Nichols had today. I want to go out. I really like this cliffhanger, and I like this writing, and it makes sense that she would want to do that. She's an interesting character, having kept up lies, but it eats her alive, and that she also just wants to get away and not admit any fault or help people. It's very interesting route for this character, but I like it, and it's an interesting character with Bernard, who's also been a very interesting character, and they've made a character Knox interesting, so I'm excited to see where this goes. This episode had a great pace to it and was one of the most interesting episodes of Silo ever. So as much as I was very bored by what was going on with Juliette the last episode, this episode, what's going on with Silo 18 was really entertaining. So I'm giving this one an 8.6 for really good writing, really interesting stuff, still mystery being set up, and some good answers too. And I love to see already how Bernard is reacting to all this and what he's doing. It sets up a really good villain, and I'm excited to see what comes next. And I hope that when we meet the new character next episode with Juliette, that it picks up the pace on that side. And of course, I do miss a little bit of Rebecca Ferguson here, so we'll see how it all blends together eventually. But let me know what you thought of this episode down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Hit that sub button so you don't miss one of my reviews. It really helps in so many ways. You have no idea. I also do celebrity interviews, so I'd really love to see you come aboard. And I'll see you next time.